My life before the cult was marked by routine and a search for something deeper. I was always looking for a true connection with something beyond the mundane. But I never imagined that my quest would lead me to the abyss. It was an ordinary evening when my curiosity led me to a group that promised to reveal the hidden and transform the understanding of the world. The first meeting was shrouded in mystery. Shadows danced on the walls of an old warehouse that seemed to have been abandoned for decades. The place had an almost palpable horror of antiquity and darkness. Candles burned in circles on the floor, casting distorted shadows that made the space feel alive. The scent of wax and incense mixed with a sense of anticipation in the air. The people in the group were an enigma. Each person had a distant look, as if they were in a permanent trance. Their faces were hidden by hoods and intricate masks, and the sense of anonymity and secrecy was both fascinating and terrifying. The promises of power and enlightenment seemed harmless compared to the burning desire to discover what lay beyond the surface of everyday life. As I delved deeper, the rituals became more frequent and disturbing. The ceremonies were conducted in a series of underground chambers, each darker and more oppressive than the last. The rituals were performed with meticulous precision, and I was forced to partake in practices involving ancient symbols and chants that made me uneasy. Magical symbols were drawn with blood, and the formulas were chanted in ancient tongues that I couldn't understand. The group seemed to drain something from me, as if we were sapping each other's vital energy. The smell of burning blood and wax, combined with the sound of incomprehensible chants, created an atmosphere that was unbearably charged with an almost electric tension. It was during a particularly dark ceremony that I began to uncover the true nature of the cult. The walls of the chamber where the ritual was held were covered with profane symbols and marks that seemed to pulse with their own energy. I was forced to participate in a ritual involving the invocation of entities that, according to the group, could grant immense power. During this ritual, I witnessed something that made me question my sanity. There was a hidden room behind a secret panel, and inside it were prisoners, people who had disappeared and were captured by the cult. The group was using these individuals as pawns in their power games, conducting brutal and horrific experiments on them. The reality of what I was involved in was more horrifying than any nightmare I could imagine. With the weight of this discovery, fear took over me. I knew my life was in danger, and the feeling of being watched became almost unbearable. The cult had a network of informants and followers who seemed to know where I was at all times. The threats were not just psychological. I found encrypted messages in my mail and signs that my home was being monitored. To escape, I had to leave everything behind: friends, family, and the comfort of a normal life. I fled to a place where no one could find me, but the fear never left me. I was always aware of the possibility that something terrible was about to happen. Constantly changing my identity and residence was exhausting and isolating, and I lived in constant paranoia. Today, the freedom I sought has turned into an invisible prison. My life is marked by constant changes and relentless fear. I avoid doing anything that might attract attention, and the feeling of being watched has become a constant part of my reality. The normal life I once knew has been replaced by an existence of vigilance and caution. The cult left an indelible mark on my psyche. The memories of the rituals and the atrocities I witnessed continue to haunt my dreams and affect my daily life. The fear that something might happen to my family and me makes me live in a state of constant alert. Every shadow, every strange sound makes my heart race. The attempt to rebuild my life has been a painful and slow process. I began seeking psychological help, but the trauma of the cult is a scar that cannot be easily healed. The cult marked me forever, and the experiences I lived continue to shape my behavior and relationships. The desire to lead a normal life is constantly undermined by fear and paranoia. The constant need to hide my identity and protect my loved ones is a daily reminder of the cost of my quest for forbidden's power and knowledge. The freedom I once hoped to find is now a painful reminder of how much I paid for my choices. Over time, I learned to manage my fear more effectively, but it never completely disappears. The sensation of being watched has become a part of my daily life, and the need to maintain a facade of normalcy is a continuous effort. Living under the shadow of the cult has taught me the importance of being constantly alert and living with an awareness of the risks. The struggle to overcome fear and trauma is an ongoing battle. I try to reconnect with the life I once desired, but the weight of the past remains an obstacle. The cycle of fear and paranoia is a constant reminder of the choices I made and the horrors I witnessed. In a moment of introspection, I realized that the true cost of my journey was not just the constant fear, but the loss of the ability to live fully. The quest for forbidden's power and knowledge had led me to a life marked by distrust and isolation. The cult taught me that often, the greatest enemy is not the external world, but our own inner demons, shaping our perception and our ability to find peace. The real revelation was understanding that the battle against internal demons is as important as confronting external threats. The journey to healing and rebuilding is a journey to face and accept one's own fears and insecurities.